Hey everybody, Image here. I'm going to be commentating a game of chess that I just finished playing about 20 minutes ago on chess.com's live chess. It was a bullet game, which means the time controls were very fast. It was 1 minute per player to make all of their moves. There was no increment after moves, so it was really fast. And it was a pretty interesting game actually, so I thought that I would commentate it. Even though it would have been absolutely impossible for me to commentate it live at that kind of speed. I'm playing black in this game, and my opponent is an Austrian fellow by the name of znoo, or znoo, Z-N-O-O is how it's spelled. And his bullet rating on chess.com live chess is 2085 as compared to my 1300. So he's a better speed chess player than I am. And he immediately opened the game up with something a little bit offbeat. He played pawn to d3, and I guess it was the sort of thing where he was looking to make me spend extra time just replying to his odd opening and needing to think about it. Oh, freaking ads. God, I hate them so. Anyway, not so much to think about on my part here. I just played e5. If he's going to go for a light grip on the center, I'm going to try to occupy it early. And then he played e3, and after knight f6, g3, d5, bishop g2, it immediately looks like he's adopting a very hyper-modern approach to his control of the center, and as if he's going to go for a hippo system, which would involve his development looking like this. And basically he would set up a pretty impregnable defense along his first 3 rows and basically wait for me to make some committal move and some mistake, and then he would start to play actively in the center. There's a great Grandmaster game that I'm going to do a commentary on eventually that I'll post afterward, and it'll give a little bit of an insight into how those kind of opening systems work. But anyway, I'm just going to go for a bit of a classical development here, get both of my knights out, defending my center. And he continues his hippopotamus setup. So let's see, h3, bishop e6. I just decide to overprotect this pawn because I don't want to go and overreach myself either here, because that's what he wants me to do. I'm prepared to play a kind of slow positional grinding game, even though it's a 1-minute bullet game. And so he continues along his setup, and at this point I feel that it's safe for me to push in the center. Because I'm expecting him to put his bishop on b2. But he doesn't. He moves his bishop out to a3. And here, my bishop on f8 is technically my bad bishop because more of my pawns are on dark squares. And I'm actually quite content to trade off here. So I do. His knight's a little bit awkwardly placed over on a3 for now. Not that that's a huge deal. And I castle. So now he locks the center with e4, and I decide to keep his knight, to force his knight to redevelop elsewhere. So he plays knight to c4, and this just loses him a tempo after b5. So now he retreats his knight to d2. So now the center is locked, and I have a little bit more space on the queen side. So if I'm able to safely hold on to the space that I'm gaining, then I'll have an advantage. So here I played knight to b4, and the reason is because I want to push c5, possibly to push c4 later, possibly to support a b4 push, but I need to get my knight out of the way. And now he attains pretty much his hippopotamus setup. He just needs to push a3 at some point, and he's got pretty much the full hippo going. But here I play c5, and rather than play a3, he decides to go queen to c1, which just doesn't seem to do very much of anything. And I decide to pull my knight back to c6 just to preempt any a3 kind of moves. And to further go toward preventing that, I'm thinking about pushing to b4. And he moves his queen back, so now he's just playing really quite passively. He's up on time here. He's got about 45 seconds on his clock, and I've got about 30. And now I push b4, which gains me a bit more space, though in retrospect, c4 might have been a little bit stronger here. Just sort of breaking open the position a bit, because my development's a little bit better for if the position were to open up suddenly. But I played b4, and I'm just sealing my space advantage on the queen side, so I've got a lot more room to maneuver my pieces on the queen side of the board, and the center is still locked. He moves his queen back to c1. He's content to just sort of sit tight. And I play a5, just cementing my grip on the queen side and gaining even more space. Now here, white could play something like a4, or f4 would be pretty decent for white as well, just kind of undermining my pawn chain in the center at the expense of weakening his king a bit. So that's an option to consider, but the queen side looks like it's going to stay locked for a while after I've played b4, so f4 looks pretty good for white there. But white is content to just keep moving his queen back and forth, and in this position I activate my queen a little bit, but while I have the possibility of making moves like knight to d7, f5, things like that, I decide that if he doesn't want to play a game, I don't really need to play one either. And so we just repeat the position a few times, and the game ends in a draw. So I've scored a draw against a player nearly 800 rating points higher than me, by us both basically just playing by him playing ridiculously passive chess, with the goal of making me make a mistake, and me playing just safe chess and not giving myself the opportunity to make a mistake. This is a very unambitious game from both of us, really, because I think that black has the advantage in this position, but the disadvantage on the clock. So I think it was, a pragmatic way to play, but not necessarily objectively the best to just go for this draw. So that's the game, and I will be presenting pretty soon, I think, a Grandmaster game with a similar passive setup that actually turns out an awful lot more interesting than this. That's Grandmaster level chess for you, though. Always going to be a bit more interesting than the amateur game. Over theorization of openings and whatnot aside. Anyway, this has been Image. I'm going to be signing out now, and hopefully I'll be able to get that game and other content to you all soon. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good day.